The NBA season is over and the Warriors are champs once again. It almost seemed like an impossible journey, and yet it wasn't. A few seasons ago, the Golden State Warriors were basically down 4 superstars due to injuries and trades and had the worst record in the NBA. But then, just a few seasons later, they're hoisting up their trophy and proving once again that true dominance comes when you have your crew all together. The Golden State Warriors are the champs for the 4th time in 8 years, and fans are loving it, as are various NBA players from all over, as we'll show you here. Number 7. The Fall of the Warriors. Now, before we get to the reactions, and don't worry, we have plenty to show you, we need to talk about how this was a true return to form, because for a while the Warriors were lost. For this, we need to rewind 8 years, back to when Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Coach Steve Kerr, and more came together to shock the world and win the Warriors their first NBA title in a long time. They did it with shooting skill, defensive presence, great role players, and a lot of drive. The next year, they did their infamous 73-9 season that ended with a Game 7 defeat to the Cleveland Cavaliers, starring LeBron James in the NBA Finals. But that just made them more determined to never lose like that again, and they didn't, because they went and signed Kevin Durant to shore up their ranks, and they won back-to-back finals, one of which was a sweep on LeBron's Cavaliers. They had 3 rings in 4 years, and they went to make it 4 and 5, and that's when it all went wrong. Because though they made it to the finals, key injuries happened to Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant. Though Curry and Draymond were still there, it wasn't enough to stop the destined Toronto Raptors from winning the finals and starting a legendary tumble. Because in the offseason, Durant left the Warriors and went to join Kyrie Irving out in Brooklyn, a move that backfired, by the way, and Klay wasn't just injured, he was injured for the whole next season, and then a freak injury had him out the next season too. It seemed like they were doomed to be a fallen dynasty, until Curry changed that. Number 6, the return. Their true return didn't start this year, it was last season, because the season after the failed finals against the Raptors, Curry got injured, and the Warriors had just 15 wins in a single season. Now, to be fair, that was the pandemic year bubble playoffs, which they obviously missed. But then, in the 2020-2021 season, Stephen Curry became a one-man army in the back half of the regular season. He forcibly got the Warriors into the play-in tournament by putting up monster numbers that nearly won him a 3rd MVP trophy. He didn't get it, and he didn't get the win to put them into the full-on playoffs, but he made a promise that you'll need to fear us 1 year from now. Fast forward to the 2021-2022 season that just ended, and things were looking up for the Warriors right away. They came out with a blazing start that had them in the race against the Phoenix Suns for the best record in the league. Then, in early January, Klay Thompson finally returned to the game. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. All 3 members of their core squad, Curry, Thompson, and Green, all suffered key injuries in the back half of the season, including one to Curry that limited him in the last few weeks of the season. But the pieces were there, and they entered the playoffs as the number 3 seed. So the question was, could they push through? Number 5, the playoffs. The answer was an emphatic, albeit hard-fought, yes. Their first challenge was that of the Denver Nuggets, who had the reigning and defending MVP via Nikola Jokic. To start this series, Curry was actually on the bench for the first few games, but through incredible offensive power, especially from Curry, they won in 5 games. Then they faced a true test via the Memphis Grizzlies, the surprise team of the year who were powered by a strong set of players and led by Ja Morant. The Grizzlies were a hungry young team and weren't afraid to punch Golden State in the mouth and even injure one of their players via Gary Payton II. But in the end, 6 games later, Golden State won. And the Western Conference Finals were another surprise team, the Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic. They had finally broken their own curse to reach the conference finals. The question here was, could they match up? No, in fact, the Warriors beat them in just 5 games to advance back to the finals where a new threat awaited. Number 4, the finals. In this case, it was the Boston Celtics, but back in the NBA Finals for the first time in a decade, and they too were a hungry young team that wanted to prove they deserved to be there, and they definitely punched Golden State in the mouth. Despite not having the home court advantage, they won Game 1 and led 2-1 after Game 3. But then, the Warriors regained their composure, and on the backs of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, and more, they were able to win in 6 games, and on Boston's park floor in order to secure their 4th title in 8 years. Oh, and as for Steph Curry, he was the Finals MVP, which was a well-deserved honor. Number 3, the reactions. Okay, now we can talk about the reactions because there were a lot of them. Here are the highlights, such as this tweet from Steph's brother, Seth Curry. Don't talk about Steph again unless it's in a convo with the all-time great players, and I mean a handful of people to ever touch a basketball. Now you can feel the proud brotherly love. A lot of other NBA players reacted to, including Kyle Kuzma, who said, "Steph, a MF savage." Word. Ja Morant, who if you recall was one of the people who the Warriors beat to get to the finals, had this to say about Curry: "Top 5 all time." Hey, we dig it. A couple of NBA Hall of Famers got in on the act too, including the one and only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. An NBA championship is never just won, it is earned through the pain of endless practice, inevitable losses, and unexpected injuries. Only the strongest prevail. Today, a new golden light shines over the NBA world. Congratulations, champs, well deserved. And Bill Russell. Congratulations to the Warriors on becoming the 2022 NBA champions, and congratulations to Stephen Curry on winning his first meaning Finals MVP trophy, just to be clear. Oh, and speaking of Steph, number 2, Stephen Curry. Easily one of the biggest reactions to the Warriors winning the finals was to Curry finally getting his Finals MVP trophy. Many said that Steph needed that trophy in order to cement his legacy, which, if we're being honest with you, is complete bull. He already had his legacy and place in history. Those same people were also saying the Warriors needed to win this title to prove that they could do it without Durant, even though the first one they also won without Durant. Lots of double talk here. In case you want to know just how good Stephen Curry is in his career that isn't over yet, here's a rundown for you. 4-time NBA champ, 2-time MVP, the only unanimous MVP in NBA history, 1 Finals MVP, 2-time scoring champ, all-time leader in three-pointers, franchise leader in points, assists, and 3 points, only player to have made 500 three-point shots in the playoffs, and, I mean, heck, we could just go on. And what happens if he gets that 5th ring? Exactly. Steph is a future Hall of Famer, easily in the top 10 all time, and he's got time to further improve his credentials so that the haters can shut up. Number 1, same time next year? Now that is a funny little question to ask, but it is a fair one. The fact of the matter is that the Golden State Warriors haven't lost an NBA Finals straight up. The time they lost in Cleveland was due to a questionable suspension caused by LeBron flopping and other issues that built up. Then with the Raptors, their team was crippled by 2 major injuries, one of which was in the finals. When they're at full power, they're 4-0. And if next year they're at full power again, we might be talking about them getting 5 titles in 9 years. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the NBA Finals and how everything finally came together for the Golden State Warriors overall? Are you happy that they got to win once again so that they can get that monkey off their back and go forward as dominating champions once again? Do you think that this was a magical moment or even a call of destiny? And most importantly, do you think they can do it again next year? Let us know in the comments below, and we will see you next time on the channel.